Can't you see what I mean? Do you feel it? What you're doing to me? Do you see? Can't you feel it? What is happening here? Oh yeah. I'm easily distracted, but I'm laser focused on you. I'm hopelessly attracted to you. Hit the brakes, park the car.
I don't know what you're feeling, no. I'm not getting none of that. Oh, so don't let this shock you, boy. Just make your way down the bar. Do you see what I mean?
Do you feel it? What you're doing to me? Do you see? Can't you feel it? What is happening here? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I got a gooey sweet feeling about you, baby. And I believe me, I'm gonna tell you true the way that you do, what you do, what you do, what you doing to me. Do you feel it? What is happening here? Do you see? Can't you feel it? What you're doing to me? Oh, to me, yeah. Do you feel it? Yeah, 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 yeah. Do you feel it? Yeah, yeah.
Cut. All
I
right.
made it with the coffee.
Jesus Christ. Literally in the last second.
I could hear it brewing and I saw 10 seconds. I'm like, I can make it.
Okay.
There is no way.
And the other guy.
And the other guy. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, apparently you cannot do anything without a coffee, so
No.
Um,
Must have coffee.
yeah. I don't know if that's what is that? Self-fulfilling prophecy, what do you call that? When you're just convinced that's the only way?
It's the only way. I mean, it is. Let us know if the audio's okay, everybody. We did a check beforehand, but we've kind of switched over to using these mini Ks so they don't have to be right in our face, and we're actually liking it quite well.
Yep.
So it's working out. It's been a crazy few weeks here. Actually, the last month has been absolutely nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't seem like it, but maybe some of you that have seen it maybe last time was a month ago. There's something different in the background, so maybe some of you will notice it. But we'll have a camera ready for that angle. So maybe some of you will pick that stuff out.
And I'm sure maybe some of you, I did a bunch of YouTube shorts when I was actually doing it, so maybe you saw some of those. But
Hey, hello from Sweden. Nice. Midnight
and
Sweden.
Chile.
All right. See, 3 o'clock is not too bad.
Yep.
Because, there's enough for everybody around the
Dude,
world.
Marcos gets it. Coffee maker is the most important piece of gear in his studio.
Yeah?
It's the same here. Period.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, that's why I have my no coffee, no recording mug.
Hi from the UK. All right, man.
11 p.m. over there. Yeah, this is actually a cool time to do this. We get so many more people from all over the place.
So, yeah.
Got Sweden. Excellent.
And now that you mentioned Sweden, in trading places, right? When they're in the train from Philly to I think New York, whatever, to World Trade Center, and comes Jamie Lee Curtis in and with the lederhosen, right? And say, "I'm Inga from Sweden," and then the butler goes, "But you got lederhosen." I'm Inga from Sweden. Move on.
Oh, that's funny.
That's great.
Michael Jung in Brooklyn. East Coast representing.
No, he says it's the lava lamp.
Okay, lava lamp and any sort of cool lamp is a close second to the coffee. But without the coffee, I can't enjoy the lava lamp. It's just, or any lamp.
Yeah, sure.
For me. Because I have enough coffee that every lamp looks like a lava lamp to me. My eyes are just going crazy. When I was wiring, man, I'm just going to go over this real quick. When we wired the studio the first time back in, was that December of 2013, I think it was?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was way back.
The very first wire, he and I did it together. And we had our good buddy Scott Francisco helping us a few times. He's actually who taught us how to do the Elcos. We had never done Elco and all that before. And so he very brutally taught us how to do that. You'd crimp a pin. Oh, we got it. He'd come over, yank on the pin. It would come off. He'd go, do it again. But it took us, I want to say 2 weeks roughly to actually do that wiring. When I did all this in the last month, after putting the new racks in, I'm like, it's just the console side. I can do this in 5 days. 10 days later, I was still working. Literally put the last patch bay in about 3 in the morning on a Saturday and had a session at 10 a.m. that day. And I got 95% of the wiring correctly. Only a couple things were backwards. And then I spent another 2 days troubleshooting.
Yeah. Hello from Finland. All right. Yes. That is so cool. Wow,
Nice.
Did you know that Telefunken makes coffee machines?
I think Marcos is pulling our legs. This is April Fool's. What's going on? I would buy that actually if they make a coffee machine.
Wow, this is great. Yeah, Chile. Muy bien, señoras y señores. La cresta, bobón. Let's see if he catches that.
What's that warning right there? What are we getting?
It went away.
Okay, good. If it goes away, I'm going to put my phone away over there. So besides the wiring, this whole control room, this has been something that I've been talking about for the last year, maybe even last 2 years, doing the console upgrade, getting the extra channels, and then making new racks so everything fit and was actually in a place where we were happy with it. And I can say over the last, week, 2 weeks, I've been mixing a lot. Absolutely digging it. But the planning, I think when you're doing anything patch bay, especially if you're installing multiple patch bays or you have a lot of gear, you really need to quadruple check your planning. Because now that I've done this, how many times over the course of the last 7-8 years? I don't know. How many times have we rewired or redone stuff in here? A dozen? And some of them major redos, because nothing was ever in its rightful place where we wanted it. So it was kind of modular and we just move it around until we kind of figured it out. Right. And each time you learn a lesson. This time I actually planned it out. The night before he left, he was smart. He bolted out of town. He's like, you wire on your own, man. But the night before he left, I ran everything by him where I thought it was going to be. And like did that. It was the quadruple check of planning. Okay, this is going to go there. This is going to go there. These cables are getting cut. This is how it's going to get hooked up. Those racks are going, so we're going to move something into those racks. We're going to put the outboard mic pre's in a certain spot. And as soon as I started dropping gear in the racks, I realized a couple of those things wasn't going to work. But I made one huge mistake in my planning. And that was with the patch bays. They have two kinds. Have bit tree and audio accessories. The bit tree patch bays. Bit tree patch bays. Patch trays. It's like pate. Are really deep. The audio accessories are about half that deep. Some of the cabling that I already had cut to 24 pair coming around the console, I wasn't changing. Everything else got cut down. So I was leaving certain things in certain orders because a lot of the pinning was already done. It was done well. I didn't want to change that. And I was inserting the audio accessories patch bays in certain areas to add the new gear or to facilitate the how everything had to move for the other 8 channels on the console. And I got in the middle of it, and I had an audio accessories patch bay here, sandwiched between 2 bit trees, and I literally couldn't get my hands up in there to put the Elcos in the back of the audio accessories. And had to make a change in the middle of all this, which was unfortunate.
Wow, look at that. Southeast Italy. Ah, la bella Italia. Molto bene, molto bene. And then Paraguay.
I only know how to say bad things in Italian.
Vamos, Paraguay.
New Zealand in the house, too.
Yeah, man. Wow.
Welcome.
Yeah. Let's just keep that out of this.
That's funny, but yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe can you get a new video of the wiring? I got 2 patch bays with 24 interfaced, and I age a year when something. I feel your pain there. When we were, one of the things, this was another thing that I just forgot to get done. Literally was doing it as we were setting this up. There's new cable going from the patch bay over to my right where the video rig is. And the Black Magic, I have new snake going over there, so we don't have to. The patching is real easy now. Boom, 2 patch cables, whatever we have on the console or sending to that channel goes over here. I hadn't soldered the XLR ins on that cable. I had crimped it and pinned it into the Elcos in the patch bay, and I ran it over here and it was sitting behind. So today I was on the floor soldering, and then what was the last thing I forgot to do? Oh yeah, we have 2 XLR. Which is where these mics go. There's 2 XLR patches. We have a patch panel. You may be able to see that. Yeah, Ernesto, point down to your bottom left. You guys can see the apogee kind of moving to Ernesto's left down there.
Over here.
Yeah, so on the very bottom, you see a strip of tape that's labeled. That is where our tie lines are between all the rooms. You know, we have mono, stereo tie lines. We have speaker tie lines, so you could have your guitar head in here and amp in another room. And there's also 2 XLRs that are for us to patch just microphones in here in. I had patched everything in that tie line because that's all going to other rooms except for the XLR, which went to the patch bay. That's one of the first things I did, and it's on the bottom of all my cable runs in there. And I was digging through that about, 20 minutes before us getting this live stream going. Always something.
Yeah. Well, let's say here.
Okay. You know what? I think I know what that. It can flip over to that real quick. Mm-hmm. Let's get some volume up. Oh yeah. I got you.
Let's get some volume, baby.
Get a little moss.
Yeah.
Check it.
Yeah.
Let's see if that's a little better. Okay. Maybe give it a little bit right there. Give it like 2 dB right there also.
From here?
Yeah.
Just a little more?
Make it 3. All right. Ooh. Okay. I just won't yell. Yeah. Hopefully that's better. Hopefully I just didn't blow anybody's eardrums out.
Hello to the dog. Yeah.
Is she sleep? Oh yeah, you can see her in frame. She's sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always snoring right behind me when I'm mixing. So I think yes, the to answer your question, BBL, it is time to do another. I think I don't know if it'll be a live stream though. It could be, and that actually might be the best way to do it because we did one many years ago on the Patch Bay, and it's easy to answer questions that way. I'm actually trying to get my buddy Scott to come over and do that. It's just been hard to get our schedules together to go over some of that because he's who we learned a lot of the things we have in here from him because he's done it all over the place and can explain it well. But I think it is time to go over another kind of Patch Bay wiring options, whether it's a full thing like this or whether it's just some things to have at home. And those videos, the Patch Bay videos, I still get a lot of questions that I have to answer on too. So it's time to do another one of those. So question to you, would you rather have it be a live stream or a standalone video? Or maybe it have to be standalone, on demand, standalone.
Yeah.
What am I new? What live stream, on demand? Which would be preference in that? Your dog's snoring is connected. Man, she snores every video I do. She's usually laying right like this, right next to us, or her bed is over here underneath the video computer, and she snores so loud, there's no way around it. I need to put a compressor on it so we can get it really aggressive, you know. So, okay, we've talked enough about this.
Yeah.
And they've seen, I actually have a video that I'm working on of just some of the install of the racks. It's only going to be probably 4 or 5 minutes. It'll be a shorter video of just putting them in, and you can see how dirty it was when I pulled the old racks out.
Yeah.
But so I am putting something together, a short version of that, but you want to flip over to
So
camera
and no,
4?
there's no Dante in here. This is all good old
we're just straight PCI
PCI
at the moment.
At the moment, you know, before we have to go to stupid Thunderbolt. All right.
Actually,
so,
I'm looking forward to that.
well, it's a whole new round of troubleshooting. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so here we go.
That's my life. Okay. Are we still going audio out? Yep. There we are.
So that's it. Almost looks like a new board. like a well, it's actually
What is a new board technically?
more Millennium Falcon, but a little spread out. Right?
Yes. So that I'm in the middle. Actually, just finished some mixing. I'm in the process of mixing an album for a drummer named Sammy Watson, who was the drummer for Apex Theory. So that Patch Bay spaghetti and all the labeling up on the board is actually from a mix that we finished yesterday. And I made my notes this morning, and I just hadn't torn it down yet to go on to the next thing. But it's nice on the right side with all the 500 gear. There's kind of two thought processes there, and I'm going to do a more full breakdown on this soon. But there's the bottom part of that rack. You can see the C1 in the bottom and the 500 above it that has the SSL Ultralight, the Rupert Neves
Which is
in it. That's the
right
mix.
here,
Yep.
right there.
That's the mix path, and that is directly out of the master outs. It's always going through that, and then that goes directly to the apogee and comes back up on the 2-track. So I could be in the middle of a session and want to monitor it through the compressor and the EQ and that stuff. All I have to do is hit the 2-track, and bam, we have it's instant coolness. Then on the right side, that's a 6-space Fredenstein. I put the 2 other Tonelux mic pre's there, and right above that is the Heritage Audio mic pre's with the EQ. And I left a couple open channels because eventually I'm going to replace that Fredenstein with another Trident 10-space. So there's a room for another 2 sets of mic pre's, and I have 2 open channels for a couple other pieces of outboard gear there. So that's one place I planned ahead, was in that 500 rack. So I knew that I was going to add some things in that later. So I left 2 open channels for mic pre's, and I think I have 3 open channels just hanging in there that when I put another 500 rack in and I put a couple outboard pieces of gear, I don't have to make up new snakes. It's there. It's ready to go. Boom.
All right, here we go.
So flip back over, yeah. So that is one area I did plan, and that was one move that I made because originally I had the Heritage on this side over with the 8803 because I use the Heritage also a lot when mixing and not as a mic pre, and I just didn't want to make extra snakes for the mic pre side, so I put everything that's an external mic pre is over there, and the bottom rack that you can't see because it's right behind Ernesto and it's not in it's not in the other camera. There's 10 spaces below each of these racks. I also have my overstayer mic pre's down there. It just made things nice and simple.
All right, so thoughts on the ultraviolet? You love it?
Awesome. Oh my God, I love that thing. It's the high and low band is kind of Baxendal-ish in my opinion, whereas if you goose the bottom or goose the top, I feel like it does more of an expansion of that area than it does like an EQ. You know, if I set the bottom at 60 and I boost it, I don't necessarily just hear this 60 hertz boost. I kind of hear 60 and everything around it, so it's really nice. Really nice. And the same thing with the high end. The cool thing about this in the two mid bands is it's got this thing called focus, where you can kick the focus on and it narrows that band. So if you have just a trouble spot, you can narrow that down and go find it and either just get rid of that, or you can use the focus to find the spot, turn the focus off, and then just do a little bit of a dip. And it's really handy. It is I'm ridiculously happy with that thing. It just sounds good. Sounds great. Not good. It sounds great. I actually wish I had another one for when I was, tracking that I could use separately from that. And I almost went with the TK-lizer. But he got a TK-lizer that he uses in his mastering and some of his mixing. And since he masters 99% of things that I mix, I didn't want to have the same flavor of EQ, even though I'm usually not goosing a lot. But if we got down to the mastering stage and needed a little more, we felt it was a good idea to have something a bit different flavor.
So for people that don't know what this is.
Oh, yeah. Pull that sucker up. Here, I'll cut you in. You on camera 2? Okay. So that's it. So you got the top left and top right are your low and your high bands. And then you have your high, mid, low, mid on the bottom two. And in the bottom, you have your low cut. And one of my favorite things that I wish every single EQ had is a trim. I use that trim all the freaking time. Usually it's not drastic. It's just a little dip or a little tiny bit of reduction or a tiny bit of addition, because following that, I have my Rupert Neves. And sometimes I want to control how much I'm hitting those. And if I'm just a little too hot on the mix, but I like how it sounds, I'll back it up a dot.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't talk in dB. I talk in dots. One dot, a dot and a half. Or sometimes I'm like, man, I just want to push this. And I don't want to push it from the compressor. Because I guess I should clarify. The chain goes from master fader, no insert. The master fader pushes into the C1. So how hot I have my master fader is how hard the C1 is getting hit. And then it goes to the ultraviolet. So sometimes I get the C1 where I like it, which usually isn't a lot. But I dig it, but I want to hit the Ruperts a little bit more. Or if I'm hitting them too hard, but I like what the C1's doing, I can use that trim on the ultraviolet. And yeah, so the 20K is where I sit a lot of the times with my top end EQ. It opens things up without sounding EQ'd. It just, all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's open. What'd you do? It's like, oh, I used an EQ. Well, it doesn't sound like an EQ. It just sounds open. So that's my long-winded story about the ultraviolet. It's freaking cool.
Yeah, I know. Once you start using a piece of equipment every single time, it's great. And that's the whole point of buying all this extra gear, because you're going to use it, not just because, it says SSL or whatever it says on it.
I actually have 4 pieces of SSL gear now. 2 of the EDENs compressors and 1 of the LMC pluses.
Yeah.
Marcos Gomez said we should make a sample pack of Delilah. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
If I put some snares and kicks with it, it could be a cool effect pack. I'm going to work on that.
And you have the SSL EQ, right, on your sites, right?
Yeah, that's. I think especially for guitars, a pair of those is going to have to come in at some point.
Well, let's toss one of the older ones that you don't use out and put some More SSL in it.
Exactly. Noah, what's your studio's policy regarding file management and archiving? Do you hold the client's sessions after the jobs are done, or do the files go home at the end of the day with the client? Okay, I keep a fair amount that I probably don't need to. If they're cool sessions, I archive them and hold them. But the technical policy with everyone is I give them 6 months. You know, that, and then they're gone. So they know it. They leave with one. We usually have a backup here. Sometimes they'll just, hey, keep it back up until I get it home and backed up, and then you can delete, and then I'll delete it. But I usually have a 6-month timeline, and I'm getting ready to do a cleanup of that now because we have 5 hard drives in that machine, and 4 terabytes each.
5 terabytes each.
5 terabytes each. I stand corrected. So there's 20. Yeah.
20 terabytes in there.
Yeah, and then the 500 gig internal drive. Yeah. So I'm getting ready to do a cleanup on that, but usually it's 6 months unless they contact me after getting, home or whatever, and they have their own backups. But some of the ones that I just think are really cool, I keep just to archive, because a lot of the times what I will do at some point, usually pretty quickly after a session, is I go back through it and I critique myself on whether I thought I really got the job done as good as it could have or should have been. And if it's something I hear that I just wasn't happy with, I try to figure out why. Was it something I did? Did I do too much? Did I not do enough? Or sometimes you're just pressed on time and there's no two ways around it. But I like to go back with an objective mind a few days, a week later, whatever, and kind of take a listen and go, okay, did I really do my job to the best of my abilities? And I'm pretty freaking hard on myself.
I know, but I mean, it's a constant evolving, right? You just learn new things.
Yeah.
You just add.
That's a good point. I've actually learned a lot doing that, because sometimes when you go back and you don't have the pressure of being on the clock or needing to work, and I can listen to it and go, that is something I was paying attention in the beginning while we were setting up, but you get busy doing other things, and especially if I'm the only one running the session and I missed it, and I go, okay, mental note, I have to have my checklist to make sure I get back to some of those things because I missed, that mic I didn't quite get right, or I didn't set something up there, I didn't check my stereo image on the overheads one last time, or that usually doesn't happen. Those I'm pretty strict on, but there's always something, and sometimes maybe there was a EQ move that I could have done better that would have got closer to what the client wanted. Like, oh man, next time, note to self. And I make a lot of mental notes. And occasionally I write things down. Now when it comes to finding what I did wrong, or at least in my opinion, what I did wrong and I could have done better, I have a memory like an elephant on that stuff. It could be 3 years later and I can remember, don't do that again. They're asking for this and I did this that one time and it wasn't quite right. Do this. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But, what's sample rate? That depends. Lately, it's been a lot of 44. Yeah, all the mixing stuff has been 44. I like to work it, if I'm going high, I like 88. I don't like 96. And it could be because we're using older converters too that something happens there. So that'll be, once we do the big changeover sometime in the next year, that'll be another experiment to do. But I personally think it sounds cold to me. Not that it's a huge difference at 88, but I don't notice it as much at 88. And you know what? Maybe I'm listening to the grass girl. I don't know. Yeah. But most everything that's been coming in with everyone lately is at 44, and I quite frankly I don't mind the sound of it. File sizes are smaller, which is a plus. And I think a lot of the people that are sending stuff over have done stuff on various laptops at home too, so it helped their systems run better. If I'm producing something and starting from scratch, I'll either go 44 or 88. I'll do one of those two.
Yeah, and sometimes or 48, just if maybe later videos involved.
Yeah, if we know videos involved, we'll go straight 48 right out of the gates.
Yeah.
And won't even think twice about it. I try not to get too lost in that stuff, because there's so many opinions on it, and you can read so much about it does this, it does that, it's deeper, it's more open. There is a difference at 88 and 96. You definitely hear something, some more depth, I think, especially an extension in the low and the high. So there is something to it, absolutely. Is it the right thing for everything you're doing? I don't know. That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
And then you have the practicalities of those things too, and that's an important thing too. It's better to do a really good recording at 44 and be happy with your tones and your sounds and your sonics than to be doing 88 or 96 and have a lot of troubles along the way because the machine can't handle it, or you're starting to stack tracks and all of a sudden your machines are starting to bog down and you start using some plugins and maybe they're CPU intensive, and then you're sitting there pulling your hair out trying to make music. You want the technology to be out of the way. So I think that's a consideration always to think of too, is that.
Yeah. And when you have a full session, you can go now up to 32 simultaneous, right?
Technically, I can do 38.
38, yeah. So you can ask yourself a question, like 38 live tracks at 96, it's like...
There's two things to that. Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
Yes.
That's if your machine can't handle it, that you'll stop your recording. You'll get clicks and pops. Even you'll have to put buffer settings to where it doesn't work. A lot of things. However, I will say, and this would be a fun little, I think, video test we should record. We should get some song written and we record it both ways.
Yeah.
And we have it. The more tracks you do, I think you get the accumulative effect of what the sample rate does. So you can start to hear more of that openness. I think it might be a little bit easier to get some depth at the higher sample rate without having to work so much at it. But can your machine, whatever that is, can it handle it? And are you going to be bald at the end of the session because you pulled all your hair out because it keeps giving you, hard disk errors or something like that?
Yeah. And not everybody has 5 or 6 terabyte SSDs, because those things are $800, so...
And it kind of takes that,
and I mean, once you do a big session, let's say the band does maybe 4 or 5 takes. If you're going 38 takes, you're getting to a what?
Oh, man.
5-6 gigs
Huge,
immediately,
huge.
right? So it adds up. So it's all things to consider. But I guess a lot of people with laptops or whatever, they don't record 38 live inputs.
No.
The majority of people are probably under 8.
For that, yeah. Or, some drummers at home maybe have 16 or something like that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Michael Jung, yes. I don't like the Trident. I love the Trident. I'm so happy. This board just sounds so good. So good. Which converters do you use? We have, for Mr. Hayes there, we have old Motu 24 IOs, a pair of 24 IOs, and I have a 2408 that gives us our light pipe. When we do like the Roswell live streams, we have an entire second rig recording everything multi-tracked in real time, and that's what we use the ADAT, the light pipe, for out of that. The 24 IOs have been fantastic. They don't go down. I mean, I think twice in the last, how long we got these in like 2006, 7, 5? No, 5 was I found a studio picture from 05. It's great. It's been a long time. It's been over 50, it's been 15 years.
15 years at least.
And we've had them go down twice, and Motu's customer support is so good that we would literally have a replacement before ours got back to them. They'd get the tracking number, they ship that stuff out, and it's probably going to keep us those things are going to keep us a customer.
Yeah.
Plus the new ones, we got to check them out, are quite nice.
Yeah.
Really, really nice.
Yeah.
And they've improved the analog side of things on those considerably too, so I'm actually really looking forward to that. But I cannot complain about this setup. It's PCI. We actually have 2 2408s. I only have one hooked up at the moment, but I have no complaints about those. They're rock solid, and they've been great.
Because when you're recording a live band, latency is huge, right? Because everybody talks now in modern computer lingo. Oh, you need direct monitoring, this and that. Okay, direct monitoring is cool, but when you have to deal with a whole band that each one wants their, my headphones, can I pay there? If you have to deal with direct monitoring, that's a complete separate software environment than just going software monitoring from the app, which we need to keep it simple because
Right.
you're doing all the routing from within Logic.
Yeah.
So if you had to do a separate Q mix, and deal with that software, it would be a nightmare.
Yeah, it gets quite convoluted. So
Yeah.
the way, just to add on to what he just said, the way this is set up is the first 32 channels are direct in and out of the Trident. I mean, they're in the patch bay, but everything's 1-to-1. I technically don't have to patch anything in on the patch bay to get a mic from the live room or a mic from the ISO off to our side into the Trident. I plug it into that number, it shows up on that number of the board. It goes out let's just say 1. I plug a mic into 1, it comes into 1 on the Trident, it goes out of channel 1 on the Trident into the Mode 2 with no patching. I can go out of the Mode 2 by simply setting channel 1 output for there, and it will show up on my monitor channel 1 on the board with 0 patching. That's the first 32 channels. The next 16 channels, which is the last 16 channels of 24 IO number 2, that goes directly to the headphone system. It's in the patch bay, so I still have use of all of those outputs when I'm mixing if I need them. But all I have to do, and this goes to what he's talking about, the software monitoring, in Logic, I have a set of auxes set up that goes to the headphone system that I can just import, and then I send whatever the drummer wants to hear on a pair of kick, snare, overheads, toms. That goes to, 3334, which is channel 1 and 2 on the headphone mixes. So it just goes from a bus, basically, sending to a bus in Logic, and then it goes straight out. They can do the headphone mixes, but we don't use any software monitoring, right? We don't. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean we do use.
Yes, I'm
yeah,
backwards.
but we're not doing direct monitoring.
Yes,
which
that's
is
what it is.
it bypasses the return from the software. We need that.
Right. So this is in and out.
Yeah.
As simple and fast as possible, and I have never had any issues with
Yeah.
that.
And usually you have your buffer at 64?
64.
Yeah.
Yep. I never change it.
Yeah. So that's a big thing to consider because once you go 128 or God forbid 256, a drummer will hear it. They hit the hi-hat, it's like, why am I hearing my hi-hat late?
And vocalists really hate it when they start hearing that phasing with their voice. Oh, it drives them nuts.
So all things to consider, It's like, I mean, if you're just one person recording yourself, yeah, direct monitoring is cool. But man, when you have a whole band and they're all complaining, is that can't hear myself. What? That's a different story.
Mr. O'Hays, sorry I didn't see the defined goosing, but Wade, you answered it perfectly. That is awesome. Yes, goosing means boosting the signal. Well, let's see.
So let's see here. So for some people that
Marcos, the Porta Studio experiment, that was fun. That's not over. We are planning number 2, but it's a different 4-track. It's not the same, the same tiny one. Ernesto got another Fostex. It's a little bit better, but we're gonna do another one, and maybe some more on that other one. Personally, I had a blast recording on that thing. It was just the process was fun. You had to slow down, like making mistakes on trying to get things with punches. That all became part of it. We didn't even get mad when we messed up a punch.
Yeah.
It was like, you got to try it again, and it just became this.
Yeah.
The whole experience of making that song was so different than working just straight into the DAW. I had fun, so I want to do more. Whether or not these guys do it with me or not, it's a whole other story. And I think it's out of frame. You can't see it, but we have a Fostex R8 8-track over here that we will be doing quite a bit with. It's 1/4-inch 8-track. I'm waiting on a replacement part from Greece right now, and as soon as that gets here, we'll be back and busy with that.
Yeah, we can quickly cut over to this so people know, what the hell the interface.
So camera 2.
Yeah. So this little thing here has 24 ins and 24 outs.
And that's it.
It's an older model, and this is how it looks in the back. So there's no mic pre on this. See? So TRS. And right now we have 2 of those. And yeah, that's the whole point of having a console. You need mic pre's. So there's no mic pre's here. It's just a converter.
Which, yeah, there's no light pipe, there's no ADAT, there's nothing, no, at
No.
all. It is just straight in and out, which is perfect for the workflow
Yeah.
here.
And if we want to go, and this is the thing we're considering, it's like, okay, the main reason we stick with this company is mainly because of cabling,
Well,
right? And good track record.
That's not the
you know,
main reason, but it is a big.
But it's a big, because we started budgeting what it would mean to go DB25, and that's a couple of $1,000s just in cables.
Yeah. And
And a couple of $1,000s is just the interface when you get a new one, when you're going Thunderbolt, and so everything adds up.
because what we're looking at is starting out with 3 16As.
So I'm gonna pull that
And
guy
then-
up. So right here, we'll go back
Yeah.
to
And planning enough ahead. This goes back to the planning thing. I can't stress this enough. Even if you're at home, in a small studio at home, and you're buying gear. I mean, sometimes your budget sets what you can get, and there's nothing you can do around it. Fine, I get that. It's totally cool. You got to work within the budget, but planning a little bit forward as you get gear can actually save you money in the long run. Case in point, my buddy Mike Nealon works over at Ludwig's. He's got a studio at home, and he had a 2-channel focuser. I think the same thing we use over on the video machine. And he was going to buy something new, and it was only going to have 4 channels. The price difference between that one he was looking at, I don't know if it was the Claret or one of those, and the 18i, is that the other Focusrite that has the 8 ins?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a huge price difference, and I spent a week trying to talk him into just going with the one that had a little bit more on there. Because he's like, oh, when am I ever going to use that? And I'm like, well, you've only talked about recording more drums at home. So if you only go 2 more tracks, you're going to sit there and go, oh, man, but if I only had 4 more tracks, we're talking $150 difference or whatever it was. It wasn't huge. I said, plan ahead. Even if you only use 2 more now for a total of 4, you have those other there, because I guarantee you in the next year, those are going to come in. And guess what? He did a recording the other day using more than the 4 inputs, and he's happy he did. Now he's got something set going forward where he's going to be able to grow into it a little bit, and it really wasn't a giant, a larger investment. So even if you're at home, unless you're literally only doing 1 or 2 channels ever, and you're never going to do more, if you're doing voiceover, that's all you need. But if you are doing some music and you're looking to go to your next step in your next set of gear, don't just try to focus on the functionality of it and what you might do or might like to do in the future, as well as the price of what fits your budget, and see if you can find something that works.
So yeah, so cut into, this is what we're looking at, right? To kind of keep our whole system in the same, functionality, cabling. So it's just almost a swap. So that's your front, and this is the back. And that's basically, that's not 24, that's just 16 ins and outs, and we have to get 2 of them, at least.
Did
the
building just move?
It did? I don't know.
Oh, Delilah's not going crazy.
So yeah, so we have to get 2 of these. So that's
3.
already 3 if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want to keep the same channel count.
No, I have to have the same.
Yeah.
That's the thing here, is it's a minimum of 48 ins and outs to run,
Yeah.
the way it
So
should be.
so that's already like $5,000 in just the interface.
Yep. And then there's the
and
computer.
it's, we're not talking top notch. I mean,
Well, I mean, that's debatable. I mean, one thing with all of these is when you start looking at what's in them, there's only like 2 chip makers for all this
Yeah.
conversion stuff. So a lot of it becomes how they implement the analog side of things, and then the connectivity. But I priced out Apogee and everything, and I can't. Some of these for the track counts that we need here, you're looking at 12 to 15 grand just for the I/O, and I
Yeah.
can't. That's hard to justify
exactly. And
cost wise.
that doesn't include the computer either.
Right. The Antelope audio would come in a little more expensive than the Mo2s, but not terribly more. So that was always a possibility,
But that's.
But I like I gotta say, I've heard stuff. I have other people that I know have the 16As, so I got testimony from them about the quality of the sound, what they've really upgraded in there, and it sounds great. And I go back to the customer service thing. They're awesome. I mean, awesome. So I'm gonna, until it doesn't work, or what do they say in Wag the Dog? Don't change horses in midstream.
Yeah.
Wade likes it. Yeah, you guys can't hear Delilah snoring. She's literally sitting right next to Ernesto, snoring away.
Oh.
But the K4, the 47s, man.
Here's a cool question, because we went through this. Do you think the ART VLA is worth buying?
Yes. Unequivocally, yes. This one's modded. Can you guys see it back here? Kind of. Nope, my computer's blocking it. It's back over here. I sent this one to Revive Audio and had them do a mod on it. Do you hear that? Is that just the air conditioner?
Yeah.
I swear I saw the building move. Man, we have an earthquake. That'd be great on camera. Out of the box, though, I actually kind of wish I still had one that wasn't modded, because it's a little dark and kind of gritty in a really cool way. The Revive mod cleaned it up considerably, gave it a lot more headroom, and you can do massive amounts of gain reduction without really knowing you have a compressor on, which is also cool. But even if you don't mod it, yeah, I'm an ART fan. So are you. I think, we've had different variations of their gear over the years, and I actually...
their build quality is pretty damn good for what you're paying. I mean, Jesus.
And the sound actually is pretty good, too.
Yeah, I mean, Persona's Quantum is cool, too, but...
How and Tao put that in.
Yeah.
So, and Hal's going to be back next month, so you're going to see him popping in here again. We're going to do some video together. They put in a Quantum, was it the 48?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he loves it.
Yeah.
And they had Focusrite, I don't remember what they had before. It was a Focusrite, I'll have to ask him. But they were having sync issues with it. And it was creating clicks and pops, and it was driving them nuts, so they got rid of it and they bought a Quantum, and he actually said he loves it. And he sent me some samples, some drums and stuff they've been doing at their studio, and it sounds really good.
Yeah.
The recordings sound really good, man.
Yeah. But it's DB25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's 32 channels for $1,500.
Yeah.
So you get, for $3,000, you've got 64 ins and outs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the latency is sub 1 millisecond at high buffer settings.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, and we've used Persona stuff over there. I don't have anything bad to say. I think some of the cheap brands, that's the wrong thing to say. Some of the brands that make the inexpensive gear. Then you do have your cheap stuff. But of the inexpensive ones, I think ART does really good stuff. I mean, obviously this is all subjective, as long as we can agree that I'm right. But it's subjective. But I think ART is one of those companies that makes really usable gear, that sounds good, that's built well. I don't think you've had, but I have never had a quality control issue with them. I have with other companies that I had to mod their gear. That'd make me never buy that again. But I never had it with them, and I think Personas is another one that I've used a lot of their gear over the years. I think you have too, and I had nothing but good luck. And actually, those old Digimax pre's are pretty freaking good, if you can find them. So I would not be shocked that the Quantum is a good piece of gear. It doesn't shock me at all.
Are you still using Quadriverb?
Hell yeah, I got 2 of them. They're also... Wait, you can see them. Here, I'll turn them on so the lights come on. The lights aren't quite bright enough for the camera. But yeah, I got 2 of them down there and a MIDI Verb 2. They've been getting used on this mixing I've been doing with Sammy.
And that's another fun fact, right? That once you started using actual, SPX 90 or certain parts from the what is it, the lexicon or whatever.
I don't have a lexicon anymore.
Oh,
the TC, the M3000.
Oh yeah, the TC, yeah. You started to gravitate towards those because you knew exactly what they were going to give you, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just going to a plugin in Logic and then just start messing with what's there.
I can't do plug-in reverbs, drive me crazy. Mainly because I fiddle, and I'm never completely happy. Yeah. And I see guys using them and they love them. Oh, cool, I'll try that one. I fiddle, not happy. I pull up a $60 quad reverb. Oh, there it is. Or I go to the M3000. It is an M, not an H. I always say that wrong. What is it? Yeah, the M3000, bam, I know what I'm getting. The Pro R3, all that the same way. Then I have a handful of settings I dig, but if I fiddle on those, I don't fiddle as long, and I always end up happy. That's just me. Maybe I just like I think I just like the tactile thing. Yeah. Although the Lexicon plug-in reverbs, those are the closest I've been able to get to something that I can get to quick. I'm not a real fan of the Space Designer from Logic. Works in a pinch, but man, you always have to tweak the crap out of it just to get something usable. I don't mind tweaking the crap out of something if I'm trying to design something, but if I just want something to sit in a mix and work, man, I don't want to spend all day coming back to it and still not be happy. That's not what I want to do anyway.
Yeah.
I see a lot of guys able to make great sounds with them. It's probably user error.
Or you can spend money on expensive plugins. Sure.
Yep. Or get a Bricasti.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind one of those. I'd rather have an old tape echo, to be honest with you. I think I like the darker, although I wouldn't call the TC dark, and I definitely wouldn't call the Yamahas dark. The M3000 is so great for the way it does room. And I have the plug-in version of the M3000 too, and it's actually pretty good. I spent a fair amount of time designing a couple things that I like. I tried to match it with the hardware unit. It's close, but it took a lot. So I abandoned that idea and just made a couple that I liked to use with the plug-in. It's a good plug-in. I do like that one. But there's something about the way the hardware instantly just goes into a mix, including the cheap quad reverbs. I don't know why. I remember one of the first times I used the quad reverb delays on, I think it was one of the Blood Feast tunes, and he was mastering, goes, man, what did you use for the reverb and delay on the vocal? I'm like, oh, man, it's a quad reverb. He goes, holy crap, it blends with it just sinks into things so nicely. I spent $60 on it, man. And there's other ones too. I mean, there's ART makes one, can't remember the model number, that I'd like to get. Personas left me high and dry when they stop. Oh yeah, I've heard that, Michael, about the Digimax. Trying to get, once you have problems with them now, you're kind of stuck unless you can find a good shop to do some work on it.
Yeah, I mean it's
TC Plethora.
Yeah, it's I just looked it up.
What is it?
It's just kind of more like a foot pedal.
I got no problem with that.
I don't know if there's another one, but
I have another. I'm getting ready to do some videos with the whole guitar pedal as effects and things. I have a stereo radial. I always call it the Ecstasy, but it's XTC. But the radial Ecstasy coming, and then so I'm gonna have 3 channels of that. I'm gonna do more, including a deep dive on the setup with those, the way I use it, and some different ways to use it if you're not using a console or you have less ins and outs, that sort of thing. I've got a lot of questions about that recently, so I'm gonna do that for sure.
Let's see.
Okay, Tim. I'm I'm gonna show my bias here, but I gotta say the Trident. And I've never. Wait, what does MI have an Audient in 4? The studio that used to be one of the performance rooms. Was that an Audient down there?
Audient?
The way you answered that tells me no, it was not. It was something else.
No.
Euphonic. That it was.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what it was. I have used the Audient, some of the gear before, and it's actually great. No problem with it. Obviously, you see where my preference is here, but I really, really like the tone of the Trident. And I think it's up there inside your API Neve. It sits somewhere in the middle of those as far as fat and punchy and where you can push it to one of those directions. It's not an API and it's not a Neve. It sits, to me, kind of in the middle, and that's something I really like about it. You're not going to go wrong if you go either one of those ways. But the Trident, to me, is just, I love it. I mean, that's why I went 8 more channels. And you can, like I have here, you can have input transformers in some and none of those. So you can have transformer and discrete, so you get 2 different tones. And it is a difference in some things, like especially the piano. I like the discrete channels better than the input transformer. You can also get input transformers on the line inputs with the new model. So you could literally have a transformer at every stage. I have input transformers on 16 mic pre's, and I have it on my master outs. And I also have it on my monitor outs. So my monitoring, all that is and all my outputs for what I'm going to hear are all transformer balanced, so I'm hearing the same thing, which I like. But it's really, are you looking at the M3000?
Yeah, just.
But I love the Trident. To me, just works. It sounds great. It's versatile. It's fast. It's easy to use. The EQ, the EQ, is so good. It's so good. Matter of fact, I just did an interview with them that they released, and I think I talk about the EQ more than I talk about anything in there. But that's, if you had my vote, you're not going to go wrong with either one of those. The Audience, the Trident, both fantastic companies that make great gear. I just really love the tonal quality of the Trident and everything that you can do with it. See if I'm missing something. I'm looking at that plethora, though. I just like the word plethora. It reminds me of Three Amigos. Would you say I have a plethora? The guy doesn't understand what he's talking about. It's great.
Here was an earlier question from Nick. Can you daisy chain light pipe from mixer to 24 HD to Motu 2408 MK3 back to mixer?
Okay, hold on. What? Say that again?
Well, I mean, it's almost like they you doing a whole loop. See, from a mixer to a twin, kind of like basically using light pipe to daisy chain. I think we only go one way, right? With light pipe.
I don't think you can, and I could be wrong on this. This is a good question, actually. I'm not sure you can daisy chain, like, if I'm understanding your daisy chain question would be, say, if you had what you could do with old Firewire, and I think, and even Thunderbolt and everything, where you can like daisy chain units together to use them. I'm not sure you can do that with light pipe in that way. I think it just opens up X amount of channels, and you can go both directions. Like the 24/8s, we only actually have one way hooked up because that's how we use it, but it could come back as well.
But I don't think you can go to a second unit.
But we don't. Yeah, you don't daisy chain.
Because I don't think it's self-sustaining like Thunderbolt or Firewire. I think you still need the slave master.
Let me rephrase the question a little bit. What is it you're trying to do? What's your end goal? And maybe we can put it together backwards from end goal and figure out what would work.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to use the mixer plus the 24 HD plus the 2408. I mean, probably the only way to do that is you create an aggregate device.
Wait, say that again. Sorry, I was reading something here and I wasn't listening. What'd you say?
So he looks like he's trying to. We don't know if the mixer has light pipe out or not, or what type of mixer it is. If it's an analog mixer or not. But if you have a mixer slash interface and you want to hook that up via light pipe with two Motu pieces, I don't know.
Think you can do that with if that is the goal. I don't think you can do that with light pipe.
No, I don't think so.
I think you're right. You would have to create the computer would have to see the two, and you create an aggregate device.
Yeah.
You can always add more channels with light pipe, which is most commonly how it's used. And that was one of the things with the Presonus Digimax. Some of those, that was how you used them. They had light pipe on the back. You had your existing system. You hooked them up, and there's 8 more mic pre's sitting there for you to use.
Yeah, so it all depends what that mixer is. If the mixer is an interface as well, or if it's just analog, then you still need one main digital element that is the master everything. So, because usually Motu would connect. Between the devices, if they're PCI, that you have the PCI card, or if they're Firewire, they would, be chained together. But light pipe, that's
Yeah, I'm not sure that would work.
Maybe not.
Michael, you asked if the Trident has more bite than the Audience. I would say bite, maybe the word I would use is punch, which is something that Trident, like the ADB, has always been known for. But I also just think it's a kind of a thickness to the sound. It's not a, what's the word I'm looking for? Transparent console. And in my limited work with the Audience stuff, I always found that to sound a bit more transparent to me. And mind you, it was outboard gear, not the console. So that could be a different thing. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just found it to be, it's kind of like going to a Millennia or an SSL or something where you're not getting, the color per se. Although Millennia's a beast in and of itself. But I think that the Trident has a bit more of an obvious stamp on the color of the sound. And you can push that. Maybe not you push it as far as you could or would on a Neve, but you can push it a little bit, or you can back it off and keep it more transparent, which is why I like having some of the discrete channels, so without the input transformer. And granted, it's a Landau, it's not a ridiculously colored input transformer, but it does have a mid-focus to it. But without that, you can be more transparent. But I would say that's what I remember the difference being between the two. That's not negatives or positive, because some people, like I work with Scott, man, he hates pushing. He likes things to be open, so we go work on an even. I always laughed at, you could tell which one of us was setting the settings by how the input and output was. My inputs were always juiced or goosed, and then I would roll the output back to get all that color. Scott would ride the inputs really light and have more output, so that it was more open. So you can always do that. Yeah. I don't know if that was kind of a convoluted answer for me, but hopefully that answered. Pietro, that D1500 is on my list, man. And I have you got the digital, the SPX90 and the Pro R3. I totally agree that even those being digital racks, still somehow, I get what Bob Clearmountain always liked about those things, man. And the funny thing is, they don't sound so digital now, and with everything else being digital. But that D15's on my list.
Yeah, and then Michael regarding light pipe, that's what's great about the Focusrite Red 8 Pre. There are so many ways to go in, 64 channels either way. Yep. Well, yeah, I mean the whole Focusrite Red, the whole setup is just
Well, I think what they've done with that is similar to what Motu is doing with their AVB setup. It's they've made it so it's easy to expand in different ways depending on what your setup is. So which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I actually looked at that Focusrite stuff for a while too, thinking that might be an option here, but I'm gonna probably stay in the Motu land.
Everything adds up, Man, go get those D1500s. It's like, well, I mean, does anybody sell them? I'll check that out. Let's see.
I have it in my reverb list.
Okay. Yamaha.
Yeah, those things are freaking cool. I just like I like the discovery that happens, outside the box. I still use plugins. There's some cool ones, man. Always searching for what. At the end of the day, it's all what gets you the sound you need to do. But there's something about being able to put my fingers on it.
Well, 250.
Fun. And I like lights. I like lights that move.
Yeah. Who said 100 euros? So 250 here in Reverb.
Yeah, but they fluctuate. I mean, a lot of these have gone up. My Dynamites, I bought both of my Dynamite compressors for about $600 when I got them. They're like $1,100 now.
Wow. Oh, these guys. Yeah. There you go.
Here, I'll cut you in. He's on Reverb looking.
Yep. Right here. These are the guys. Look at that. Man, look at the old PV with the old... Oh, man, this is great. Rocktron. Oh, good Lord. Intelliflex. Rocktron. Oh, Lord.
I want to get a Rocktron. I want to do some guitars with it. You're going to hate me.
This is great. Yeah.
But one day he's going to get here and be a Rocktron. He's going to be like, oh, what are you getting me into now? I'm ready for the next 4-track recording, though. That I'm definitely ready for. All right, I got a question for everybody. And I was talking to Ernesto about this beforehand. Some things I want to add. We're going to try to do monthly live streams. Maybe we get an extra one in, but we're definitely going to try to stick with some sort of monthly plan because it's fun, and I want to be consistent. And I'm actually compiling some of the questions that I've gotten on some of the videos that I'm a little behind on. I'm going to get caught up on this week, and I want to actually add that into answering in the live stream. But one thing I was thinking that might be kind of fun is we have enough outboard gear now, and he's got some in a 500 rack. Would it be something that would be cool if we had a little portion where we recorded a session that has some drums, recorded a couple different ways? We had our mono setup, our stereo, mono room, stereo room, mono overhead, stereo overhead, that sort of thing. Some bass, guitar, maybe piano, maybe a cheesy vocal. where we could run some gear through and test things out. Because I know I've had a lot of questions about the IGS, and I've had people hammered me because I still haven't done any new audio with the new Comp 54, the upgraded Comp 54. Would that be something fun to do in the live streams where we could have a session? You know what's in the session, and we can go, hey, I'd like to hear this piece of gear on that mic, or whatever, and we could do some real-time, I don't know, exploration, so to speak, with gear. Would that be something everybody's interested in, or no? And, you know, as we add more gear in, or maybe I can even get some people to send us some stuff for testing or whatever, would that be fun or not? I don't know. I mean, it would be for me because I just get to mess with gear. But I don't know if it's anything interesting for you guys. Teleflex has some crazy delays. What was that in Teleflex?
That's Rocktron.
Oh, that's the Rocktron. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have one of those.
Well, I mean, the other classic that was in every studio was the Roland delay. Was it the SD 3000?
Yeah, I'm looking at the 2500 and the 3000. Those are both in my. Actually, our old neighbor at the old studio, producer mixer named Michael Patterson, who's freaking awesome. You know, he mixed The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, did a bunch of the Nine Inch Nails stuff. For some reason, there's only 2 that are coming out. I saw he posted he mixed another movie. I can't remember what it was, but amazing mixer. He told me about that when we were texting recently, and he's like, dude, you got to check out one of these if you're into the Outboard. So that's been in my list ever since he said to get one of those.
Man, I mean, just the build quality from all these old Yamaha things, man. Oh, it's just...
Exploration. You know, I would love to do a Netflix show that was like that was just all the geek side of all this stuff. We just go around and do it. Maybe that's a new series we'll have to start. The third song from Songs from the Studio is partially shot and recorded. We did the prior to Ernesto heading out of town and leaving me high and dry to do all the wiring myself. And the upgrade of the studio, literally days before you left. I just saw something cutting it out. What's going on? Days before you left, we did the bed tracks for song number 3. We were joined by a keyboard player that I got to work with on it's the other GH5 that I got to work with a few times, named Matt Little, who's fantastic. Great keyboard player. And Minnow was back with us. Right now, I'm waiting on the hard confirmation from the vocalist that I really wanted on this. So we haven't released it yet. I've just got everything pulled into Final Cut. I'll start getting the first episode ready of that. The vocalist I really wanted said yes, but I'm having a hard time right now just hooking up with her because she's been out of town. So once I can get things to her and we can go over the details and she says, absolutely, we're in, we'll get ready to start releasing song number 3. Song number 4 is also in the bag. It needs a full mix on everything. Song number 4 is actually going to go back a couple years, but has another fantastic vocalist on it. So I'm excited about that one too. I'm excited about both of these. And the next 4-track song, we're just trying to jive schedules so we can get that one shot. And then there's going to be an 8-track. I was just covering the concept of what I want to do with the 8-track for one of these with Ernesto the other day. So we have that one at least conceptually in the works as well. So a lot of music coming up. I also did the first video of a series. I think it's going to be a series. I don't know. I really haven't quite figured it out, where I'm recording some drum stuff and I'm going to mix landscapes and just create a sonic something with these drum parts that I did, singing a song in my head that doesn't exist. And I'm going to send that to different people and let them put on whatever they hear based on, or whatever they feel when they hear what I send them, wherever it leads them. They have free reign to do whatever they want. I'm going to have no creative input whatsoever. So that's scary to me as a producer, but I'm excited. I'm probably going to send to him first for guitars and things because he gets the concept. I have my bass player that I want to use in mind. I have a keyboard player or a composer I want to use for some stuff. And it is literally going to be an exploitation because I'm going to write these drum, rhythm, whatever landscapes and send it off to whoever I can get to say, yes, what do you hear on this? And you react to it. And then I'm going to use it and send it to the next person. And we're going to build it. We're going to see where it ends up. I'm actually, now that I'm saying it out loud to everyone, I'm actually more excited about it.
Yeah, all these old.
Clear Mountain used a lot of Yamaha too, but he had the Roland stuff as well. But he was a big Yamaha guy as well.
Yeah. Well, this one is just 150, the SD 1000.
Yeah, look at the 2500 and the 3000. Those are the ones.
Oh yeah, I saw them already.
So there is a lot of music video coming up. It's getting some of it cut. Takes a lot of time. Those songs from the studios, we end up with so much video that going back through them to find like a cohesive story through it, it takes a while. It doesn't happen quickly, unfortunately. So I'm trying to fill it in with some other things, some gear stuff, a little bit of some mixing stuff, little recording things here and there that I just find that are interesting, that could lead to fun conversations, and everybody could take it and run with it in a different way, and maybe we get some new things out of it.
There you go.
2500 at what, 270, 275?
There you go.
Is there any 3000s there?
Yep. Right here. Look at that. 325.
Yep. That's the one that's really on my list, but I'd take a 2500 and a 3000. There's just so much gear to buy. I don't know what to do.
That's cool, man. Wow.
Let's see if I missed anything.
Yeah, it has a Playmate plug.
See, that's a fun one to use. Let's see. If I
So
didn't
much
miss any
connectivity on
questions.
all this old stuff. It's amazing. Ugh.
Tim. Okay, so Tim says he's also buying an interface computer, the whole thing. I guess.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're really going. What? I like I said with the planning stage, when you're sitting down thinking about it, think of all the things that you would like to do. Even if you're not doing it this day, you're like, oh, I'd like to be able to do this down the road, or it'd be cool if that option was there. And then figure that out, and then you always and go backwards. Then you go into your budget and what's available inside of that. I think you have to plan on ins and outs. What are you trying to do? Are you interfacing a lot of outboard gear? Would you like to be able to interface some outboard gear? So you have to plan for your I/O that way. Are you going to be using that if you're going to have some in, some out of the box? Are you going to use that stuff while tracking, or is it just while mixing? Because that could lead to a different type of setup. If you were, say, just mixing, you might forego a traditional patch-based setup like this and go with something that your I/O, your outboard gear is hard patched into your I/O. So you set a particular sound, a drum bus, to go out, say, 7 and 8. And on 7 and 8 always has what you use on your drum bus. It's right there. You don't have to patch. It's already in your I/O. So workflow should have, the type of workflow you're looking to do should have something to do in that planning stage too. Not just the number of ins and outs and what you're doing, but what is your workflow? And then you finally you get down into what your budget is. And then it blows up the whole plan. But that, I think that we need to do I think we need to have a dedicated, I never saw the answer to this, for talking all this I/O patch bay routing. Would you like to do I want to do something dedicated to that topic, live stream, on demand? Which way would be best? I know everybody's got questions, but I think a live stream, because you can talk through things in real time and it always lives forever, and then maybe you take the best pieces of that and turn it into on demand. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's so many ways to look at it that isn't just what we have here, all the way down to you just have two, like what our video machine just says. What is that? A Focusrite what? What is that?
The what?
On that Focusrite on the video
that's
machine?
a Scarlet.
Scarlet is 2 ins and 2 outs.
Yeah.
All the way from that all the way up to like full blown. And then the different ways to do that, like the hard patch system or the full patch bay system, or a combination of those. You could have a little bit of both of those too, actually, depending on what it is. She is snoring like crazy down there.
It's not phased by any of this.
No, she's just comfy.
Yeah.
Okay, live stream, yeah. I think this is something we're going to have to set up. Like last time we set up in the live room with the table with I think we used the Mackie mixer and just had a couple pieces of gear and a patch bay and did things kind of in real time. I think we're gonna have to set up with some props to cover some of this. It might be easier, and I want to get Scott to join us on that one too, because man, that guy's wired every which way to Sunday in different studios, and always tends to think of something that you didn't think about. So I'll try to coordinate with him a little bit more, and then we'll do it. So okay, that's gonna be a plan sometime in the near future. And we're going to do a live stream that's dedicated to that topic of basically your studio interfacing. You know, whether that's patch bays, hard patching, whatever it is, it's going to be studio interfacing and what to look for depending on what your setup is. Don, we did a live stream kind of on that a while ago. That's a few years ago now, which is why we need to do an updated one. But if you can still search the YouTube channel, it's on there somewhere. And it was, we didn't do it the full setup. Like I said, we had a Mackie mixer and some gear and a patch bay and just talked about how to interface that stuff. But that is, oh, did we actually have an Excel, a spreadsheet for that? I think I did. I think I actually had a PDF of the patch base set up. Can you do a search for that and see where that video is?
Really?
Yeah, we did a live stream, and I think I did have a
Holy crap.
a PDF.
Wow.
It's in YouTube somewhere.
Okay.
But we definitely need to do an updated one, because I did one with the patch bays only, where I sat in front of the patch bay and just talked through our setup of the whole analog side. So there's that video. I think that's an on-demand video. And then there's one where it was a live stream.
Was it analog patch bay setup?
No, I don't remember what we called it.
But I mean, what would you look?
It'd probably be easier go to the studio, the back end. Go to the studio and go to the live, all the live stuff.
Got it.
But it's time for a new one of those. And yeah, it was a PDF. I do remember that now. Man, you guys remember all this stuff. Holy crap. But I think a live stream would be good. We'll plan it out a little bit to have some already thought out ins and outs and do's and don'ts, or just things that we've learned. And then that way we can fill in with questions. So go to live. And then probably just kind of scroll down.
Like
Man,
early?
I can't remember what year. Yeah, it was early on. It was probably before that stuff. Utility gear. Oh, yeah, that was a non-sexy version. Yeah, you'll have to go back a page.
Okay.
I'll see if he finds it.
Yeah.
And we'll put a link in there. Building your mic locker. No. Oh, maybe not. Here, go up a little.
Quarantine hang?
Oh, it was before the quarantine hangs. Yeah, it was before all of that. Holy crap, that was a while ago. He's going to find it.
Music chamber.
I'm glad they've helped, Don. I mean, that's what we're taking notes from all these live streams too on what people have asked for, and we'll try to do videos based around a lot of that stuff, because it's good for us too. You know, gives us good ideas on what to do, and in some cases, I actually learned something new when we go back and do some of these. So it's good, good for that too.
Drum room.
Does the snoring make the building shake? You know what? Sometimes, yes, it does make the building shake. I do not mix in the box. I'm very much a hybrid setup, leaning more towards the analog side. I'm a 60-40. 65-35. Sometimes 70-30.
Oh,
but never more than that.
Hooking up your computer, patch bay, and all that?
Okay, there's that one. Yeah, maybe that was it. But that's only 39 minutes. Seems short. But that might be one of them, yeah. I thought we did 2. But yeah, that might be it, actually.
Yeah, that's from February 2017.
Yeah, that has to be it. That has to be it. Okay, that's a great question, Peter. The way I do... One, I just decided a long time ago, since I want to work this way, that I wasn't going to worry about recalls or get mad about them or not. Because it's just part of the process. When I'm done, and I have a mix up here, and I did this morning, actually. I take video of everything that I've done outside the box. I walk myself through that setup on video. So I video the whole process. I talk through all of it. So if I have to do a recall, I pull that video back up and I talk myself back through setting all of it up, including anything that's coming from in the box. I do have my in the box channels. The mix I'm doing with Sammy is probably about a 50-50. All the drums, and I break out some of the stems on the board. And since he did a lot of automation on his stuff in there, he's got very specific ways some of his stuff flows ins and outs. I don't touch any of that. I have that stuff just come out on stereo groups, and I leave it, and we adjust that stuff in the box. But I run video of the whole thing. You know, I used to take paper notes. I don't do that anymore. Once the video is done, I put it in the project folder, so it's with that. So if I ever have to go back to it, I have just a mix recall folder with the videos. It's inside the project folder, so I can see it. It actually doesn't take me that long to recall that mix. Now, on top of that, I do a couple things. One, I bounce a fair amount of stems at the end, not individuals. You know, I don't do individual, stems of every single thing in the drum set per se. It's usually, we're pretty much there. I'll have a stereo of the dry drums. Any effects if I have outboard effects, reverb, delay, overdrive pedals into a delay, I'll have that as a separate stem. So if I just pull all that back together, it recreates my mix. The only thing I turn off when I do this stem stuff is I turn off the master bus. So I turn off the C1, the ultraviolet, and the Rupert Neves. So that way, if I had to go recall, first I see if it's something I can do from the stems, because I'm going to deal with, 10 or 12 channels that are already at their volumes, and the only thing I have to recall then is the master bus channel. The C1, ultraviolet, Rupert Neve. And then maybe I'll reference the original mix just to make sure it's 100% right, because usually it's tiny bit different, but it's not very hard to massage to get it back to where it sounds identical. And then we adjust the volume of a bass or a guitar or a vocal. If I do vocals, I always have the dry vocal and the effects separately. But I don't do, one thing that kind of drives me nuts with some of the pop stuff I've done is the producers would send me the effects tracks separate, which I dug, except it was every single damn effect in there. So the vocals, the piano, whatever, was all on this stereo track. I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? All I want to do is adjust the vocal delay, but I can't because it's mixed in with the piano and all that. So I do drum effects as a separate track from the drums. I do vocal effects separate from the vocals. And then I determine everything else if I need to. Sometimes it's part of the sound. If we used a delay or reverb to create that sound, no, I print it as one thing. It takes a little bit of time, but it's not that much. That has saved myself 95% of the time from having to do a full recall. The other thing that saves me now is I use the Listen To plugin from Audio Movers. If the artist is here in LA, I schedule mix times when they can come do it. So I'll mix maybe half the day by myself. I get it where I think it's right and I'm ready for their input for all the finer details. We come do it together. That has eliminated 99% of my recalls doing that. I've been doing that the same exact way now with my remote mixes. You can't see it now because it's the computer that Ernesto's on is actually the print computer. That lives up, how wide is that? You see the coffee mug up behind Ernesto above the patch bay? On the new, there. Right above the patch bay. You point to it. It's easier. You can see it.
So it's
right there.
Right there.
I had a station made for that laptop that sits plugged in with Ethernet, so it's tied in with this computer, and the Firewire 800, so it goes directly to the Apogee and the mix chain. That I put the Audio Movers Listen To plugin on. I stream out to as high quality as I can set with my internet connection, which for us is pretty good. They get a link. They have high quality audio. I set my iPad with Zoom right here, and we work like we're in the same room together in real time. That has cut down almost all my recalls with my remote mixing. There's still an occasional one, and I don't have a problem doing it, but I don't want to do them if I don't have to. And I think it's important to work with the artists, whoever they are, wherever they are, in real time, if possible, to get it right. And so far that plan is working really, really, really good. Really well, really good. What's the correct English there? Really well? Really good. I don't know. My mom would be scolding me right now.
See, here's the other big question. I know you use RX, but what other plugins are have made it into the 40%?
The RX has saved my. That has been a really good plugin to have. And there's a project that I can't talk about yet that it got used quite a bit on to help tidy up some things that was really important, that they were, just sounds that normally wouldn't bother you in a normal session in this particular environment did. Hopefully in the next 2 or 3 months I get to talk about that. But that's been a big one. I use a fair amount of the Logic stock plugins as well. That the channel EQ is my fixer EQ. It just does a great job, and it doesn't have any sound, which I like. I use some of the Logic compressor plugins because I like them. I do like the Trident 9066 EQ plugin I use, and I use the Tiltration a lot because it's got saturation built in, and they did a really nice job on that. And the high-low filters are just out of this world. Great. Those two. I do like a couple of the Waves things. The CLA 76 is kind of cool. It's a great plugin. The SSL channel. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Put me on the spot. What else?
Yeah, but I mean,
That's really...
yeah. Within that 40%, you can almost say it's half Logic stock and then whatever you...
Then sprinkle in the others, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's... Oh, there's one cool one from... I can't remember the name of the company. It's called D-Bleeder. It's kind of like a fancy expander that does a really nice job. Man, I cannot... They also make the clips, so I can't remember the name of the company. Maybe someone here can remember it. That one is cool, although I do use the SSL expander. So holy crap, now I get why they love the consoles. I'll think, there's a couple others I can't think of off the top of my head.
What about that EQ where you add that overdrive? Isn't that a Trident plugin?
That's the Tiltration.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I've actually started using that one quite a bit more lately, which is
Wilkinson
cool.
Audio?
Wilkinson Audio. Yes, that's it. That debleeder's freaking cool. I think what I like in the box is I think what it does that Analog doesn't do a very good job of is clean up.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's a bit of an unfair statement because as soon as that came out of my mouth, I just thought of the SSLs over there and the way how good that expander does, how well that expander. I don't know the right English. How good a job that thing does it using the expander to clean up things around it without totally killing your sound. But I do think that when you start getting into like narrow cues and things on where you need like problem frequencies, man, there's nothing beats a plugin for that stuff. You can go find it, you can duck it, you can automate it in and out if you need to in certain cases. It just, you can't beat that. I haven't really found a reverb that I really dig for everyday use. I do like what I've heard from some of the Valhalla stuff, how much I would use it. I don't like it better than what I already have, but in addition to, I might explore that route at some point. There's another one recently.
But yeah, it's just here and there, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like...
I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
It has to be something either that I look at it and go, oh my God, that would really solve my problem that drives me nuts. Or it's, oh wow, that looks fun to use. It has to be one of those two things to get me drawn into it, and then I'm more open to exploring it. Yeah,
because there's so many, you know. I mean, there's thousands, you know. It's great companies that do, you know, all the fab filter stuff, you know, all that stuff. But I mean, who has time to just go through all of them, you know?
And some of those things are really cool, you know. And sometimes I see it when I watch videos of it. I sit there and think, I go, okay, if I get that, is that going to replace something I'm already doing?
Yeah.
Does it do a better job or in a new way? Or is it exciting and I might like to explore that? And if my answer to any of those isn't, oh, hell yeah, then next. I go to the next thing. I don't really care about having 5,000 options. I already have, quite frankly, way too many plugins to choose from in the first place. And I don't use them half the time. And some of them are redundant, and some of them you kind of go, okay, well, that does that, but I already do it this way and it works pretty well. It doesn't do it better. It just does it different, but not in a sort of interesting way. You know, so it takes a little. But I'm not opposed to trying some of that stuff out. So if you guys know of any cool ones, great.
Let's see. Another question on my mind. Can I link a Behringer MX9000 to a Mackie D8B as the MX has more analog inputs and would like to use D8B just for mixdown? Or am I just pie in the sky dumb?
We're all pie in the sky dumb at certain points during every day. I actually don't. I'd have to look those two up. So if you're linking, I'm assuming then what? I don't even know. Check those out real quick. I'm not even sure. Well, let's take a look.
It's probably one has maybe light pipe or something, you know. That Behringer sounds like has like light pipe or something.
All right, Michael, you asked with the zoom with the client and the loop back of sound. What I just when I do playback, I just mute my mic constantly. I'm thinking about trying to set up maybe a little bit different setup at some point with a Stream Deck where I could be a bit more automated with it, but I'd have to get all of that on the main audio machine. And right now, I have two separate machines for my print and my audio because sometimes I'm recording at the same time I'm mixing. So I try not to have a bunch of stuff going. But I literally just sit there. It's like, okay, mute. So there's no loop back coming from me at all. I've done it a few times. I forgot to do it.
So that's it's a mixing.
Oh, the Eurodesk. Okay.
Okay.
So what's the D8B then?
Then okay, Mackie D8B.
Oh, so the Mackie's got the light pipe, he says.
Yeah.
So is there light pipe then on the 9000? I mean, I just want to see what it looks like.
Oh.
Oh, so there are two variations of the.
Oh, okay. So what is this, digital?
Is that
It's like a console. What? Oh, wow. So okay. So you want to hook up two consoles?
Well, I think if you're going to use it as light pipe, all you're going to do is see the extra channels.
Yeah.
But you're not going to.
It's not like they're gonna work together. You know, that's usually the thing with all this light pipe stuff. You know, it's like you need slave and master. It's that relationship. One is the boss, the other one is like yes sir. So you know.
somebody's.
It's like you guys are talking too much.
Yes. Here, come say hi to everybody. Come here. Come say hi. Make it in. Hi. Yes. I think somebody's probably getting hungry and ready to go for a walk. Yeah, so you ready to go for a walk? No more gear talk? But it's fun. Yeah, I think if I'm going to make sure I'm understanding the question.
What's the back here?
Light as the mix.
Because this one looks like it's all just analog. The Eurodesk.
I mean, if you were going to use just the Mackie for mixdown, I would just have that as hooked up as your.
Because the Eurodesk is like it's all analog. I don't think there's any.
He said there's light pipe on it. I don't see it though. You guys, and you can definitely hear that snorting, right? Yes, girl. Good girl. I don't see light. Unless there's a digital option that's not on that board.
Yeah.
At least in the photo we're looking at, you know. Oh, the Mackie has the light pipe. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, because the Mackie's the digital board. Yeah. So you can't, there's no digital way to hook those two consoles together. That I can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say pick one or the other.
Yep.
You know, and if the Mackie has the light pipe, you could always, if you needed more channels, you could always buy some gear that had, you know, some. That's where Audient makes an 8-channel rack that has light pipe. You could add it there. ART makes one.
Yeah.
Presonus. A lot of companies. I'm just, for some reason, those are the three that come to mind. But there are a lot.
Well, yeah. So he says would like to use the DB8 for mixdown. So that means you have to get all the outputs from the Eurodesk and make them dedicated inputs on the
Mackie.
On the Mackie.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but there's no light pipe to communicate.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you have to literally grab every output from the Eurodesk and go into the Mackie. It's the only
Or
way.
having a patch bay,
Yeah.
if that's the way you wanted
Yep.
to do it. All right, well, Delilah here, I think, is putting a kibosh on this. She is ready to go, and she's even, I can't even see.
Yeah. Very subtle messages. Yeah.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look the. I'm gonna take a second, collect my thoughts. We're gonna plan on a studio hookup live stream. That's all patch base hookup, the whole 9 yards. We'll focus on that solely. I think we will, because a couple people chimed in. We may do a exploration of gear thing on some of these, where we'll put a list together of what's available at any given time, and we'll need to write a new session with that kind of in mind and have a song where we can hear some stuff on. But I think we'll do that. I just want to keep things fun and kind of keep changing things up, and keep giving us ideas, and we'll add them into the queue. We do have a lot of video already ready to go. Now that the wiring of this whole thing's done and I'm getting caught up on some work and going, there's a ton of sessions right now too. You know, I actually had some fun with it. I don't think I got talked about it. I had Verdine White here. I had the Earth, Wind, and Fire Rhythm section in. That was a blast. And a week later, I got to do a little work with Anthrax. That was also fun. Went from some of the best in funk to the best in thrash metal all in 1 week. And everybody was fucking cool.
I know.
So, but thank you guys for joining us. Delilah's, she's ready for a walk. And I think I'm ready to
thanks guys. This was lots of fun. You know, always, bombarding us with some great questions. It's cool. We're learning something because, we sometimes go back in nostalgia and it's, that's from the 90s, when everything was just, no digital.
And everything was so much simpler. Yeah. So, all right, we'll get them planned out. We got some great freaking ideas from everybody now. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday wherever you are. For some of you, it's already Monday. You're in the future. We're talking to people in the future.
Yeah. Ooh.
What's it like? Can you tell me what the future's like? Where should I put my money on stocks?
So thanks, guys. And we'll see you on the next one. All right. Excellento.
All right, all. Have a good one.
Yeah, you go.
Okay, I got it.
You go.